Oh, so-and-so, your companion has appeared. If you want, you may join him. And if you wish to remain here in the honor of your Lord, then you may remain. The Mahdi has appeared TV channel. We are here to give you the glad tidings of the appearance of the Mahdi.
The solution for humanity lies in the redistribution of wealth amongst all mankind. All of the excessive wealth of the rich should be confiscated and redistributed. The people who would object to this matter and prefer that tens of millions of people die every year and sue in order that a small select group of elites live a life of luxury are enemies to mankind and should be arrested and prosecuted for being accomplices to murder and mass genocide. The ones that claim that this matter would be undemocratic should hold a worldwide referendum where all mankind could vote on whether they agree to the redistribution of wealth or whether they prefer that everyone keeps what they have. I think that the overwhelming majority will vote for redistribution. The so-called rabbis, priests, sheikhs, and imams of every religion should also be forbidden from ever preaching in the name of the prophets and messengers if they disagree with this proposal. They should be arrested and prosecuted as well as traitors to humanity. The prophets and the messengers are innocent of them, and they are the enemies of God. From the Gospel of the Wise, written by Abdullah Hashim Abba al-Sadiq, the Qa'im of the family of Muhammad.
Al-Mufaddal narrated that he heard Abu Abdullah, peace be upon him, say, "If you see the Qaim give a man 100,000 and gives another man a single dirham, then let not that cause discomfort in your chest, for verily the matter is up to him." The Mahdi has appeared TV channel. We are here to give you the glad tidings of the appearance of the Mahdi.
The Qaim Abba al-Sadiq Abdullah Hashem has fulfilled the prophecy from the Ahlul Bayt that says their Qaim will raise a black banner that has written in it, "Allegiance is to Allah." Abdullah Hashem is the only man on the planet to have raised this banner, and he is the only man on the planet calling to the supremacy of Allah. In the book 250 Signs Until the Appearance of Imam Mahdi, it states, "Verily we Ahlul Bayt have a banner. Whoever goes ahead of it have renegaded, and whoever is late to it have perished, and whoever follows it has followed us. Allegiance is to Allah is written in it."
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the entirely merciful. Assalamu alaikum to everybody and welcome to another episode of the New Islam. Thank you guys for joining us today, but before we get started, I'd like to give a warm salam to my brother Hussam.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome for joining us.
Perfect. So on the New Islam, what we like to discuss is the matter of the riser of the family of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. And specifically what we discuss is the matter of the divine knowledge that he brings to the people. For any of you who are not aware, Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he's been making videos displaying his knowledge. He's made over 150 videos on the YouTube channel called The Mahdi Has Appeared. And on this channel, he goes into a lot of esoteric knowledge and a lot of knowledge on things that people have not been able to uncover for centuries. And specifically for his most recent video that he made, he goes into something that is very, very important.
Yeah.
The concept of a truthful person versus a liar.
Yeah.
And what happens when somebody lies, and basically what happens if somebody's truthful, and the consequences of being a liar. The video is titled, "The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Can we still trust the liar?" And in this video, Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam goes into the actions of a certain nation that has caused people to not believe them anymore because they cried wolf too many times. And when the wolf actually came, nobody is here to support.
Exactly. I think that's a story that everybody is aware of around the world. I'm not sure exactly in Asia if they have that concept, but the concept is very simple. I think we should introduce the story to everybody. The story is as such, there is a boy who's taking care of some sheep or something like that by the town, and while he's taking care of the sheep, he was bored. He was very bored, and so what does he do? The sheep is eating, nothing is happening, days go by. So one day he thinks to himself, let's just get excited, goes to the town and he starts shouting, "Wolf, wolf." There are wolves here that are ready to attack the herd. So the people of the town come out with their pitchforks and everything like that and ready to take those wolves on and kick them away or take their lives away because they're a threat. So when they go and they find there is no wolves, they reprimand him, but he doesn't care too much. So they go back home. Next day he does the same thing. The next day he does the same thing. And after some time, the town just stopped believing in him because they kept hearing him say wolf, wolf, and they thought like it was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that fourth day, when he's taking care of the sheep, wolves actually do come and they appear. When they appeared, he started to really panic and shout wolf again. But the people, because they heard him multiple times and they've gone through this experience multiple times, they didn't believe him. And the wolves did come and they took his life and they took the life of the sheep as well. So the general understanding of what the story is saying is that a liar will never be trusted.
Exactly.
The credibility of somebody who continuously lies falls down and it goes away.
Exactly. And it's actually said by Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam so beautifully. A liar's biggest punishment in this world is that even his truths are rejected.
Exactly. So even the truths are rejected. So you'll find it's something that is in common for all the religions around the world, is that when there is a liar, they don't take them as a not credible source, for example,
Exactly.
right? So in this sense, we are in agreement. I think everybody agrees that lying is not a good thing. And in fact, when you study the situation of lying and truthfulness, or truthfulness versus lies, you can find that also in the narrations of the family of Muhammad as being the two soldiers of the light and darkness as well, like the soldiers of the mind versus ignorance as well, where the truthfulness versus it is the lies, and in a sense, Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam goes into a deeper explanation, and he gives an example of these lies. So the punishment of the liar is that he's not believed in his truths and falsehoods, so all of it, and he loses his credibility. And that the fact of the matter is that a believer can be anything, as Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, except for a lie.
A liar, exactly. And that's what Ahmed al-Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam also says. The only person that he would not accept in his caravan is a liar. So somebody could be a murderer, a fornicator, commit any sin, but a liar is one thing that's just almost unforgivable. Yeah.
Yeah, it is unforgivable just because it's like, how can you trust it anymore? You know, somebody can fall in a heated argument or something like this, and they will say, for example, murder or something like that, and that can easily be forgiven. You have, for example, for that is Moses alayhi salatu wasalam. Right? Moses alayhi salatu wasalam is actually a prophet of God, and he got angry and he hit somebody. He hit the Egyptian soldier and he took his life. So God can forgive stuff like this. It's out of anger for something righteous, and he went too far. For example, just in case, for the sake of the general mass and their understanding of what happened in that situation. You know. So then, what happens here is that you have somebody who, for example, fornicates. We have also in the Bible, for example, lots of situations where some prophets actually made that situation happen as well, and they were forgiven. You know, we have people who are right now. They get in that state of hormones or whatever, and they just fall for that pressure and that so on and so forth, and they go for it and they make those mistakes. We have lots of people like that, and God is all forgiving.
Exactly, and one of the reasons why a liar is not forgiven is because they know that they're lying. And they know what they're saying is deceiving other people and is hurting other people, yet they still continue to do it.
Sure. I mean, obviously, when you're lying, you know you're lying.
Exactly.
You know, so you're aware. And so your premeditation and you're actually in present-mindedness, you're recognizing you're lying. And you just hope that you can get away with it. But as Abu Sadiq again said, is like lies don't have legs. You know, this is a statement in English statement, which means that if something doesn't have legs, it's not going to go that far. You know, so it's going to be very quick to reach it, especially when you have legs.
Exactly.
So it's like lies are going to be exposed sooner or later. Lies are going to be exposed, and that is what we are seeing today. And the perfect example of that is what's happening in the Islamic and Christian realm and the religious realm all around the world. These lies of the scholars, the lies of the non-working religious scholars around the world is being exposed on a daily basis, and people are reaching awakenness, right? And the lies of not just the religious scholars, in fact, but government lies. This is a topic that has been discussed and is being discussed on a daily basis on multitudes of different TV channels, on multitudes of different social media platforms. The lies or the deception that was made by certain governments around the world, for example.
Exactly.
So, for example, for example, let's take for example the example that Abu Sadiq has given. America's global image.
Exactly. Before, in the past, America's global image was the big brother of the world. They have characters such as Captain America. They were looked up to for their sports, all of their events and everything like that. And America was the prize of the world, and everybody wanted to be like America or go to America. They had developed this image of themselves, of just being the purest nation and the best nation in the world.
Exactly. They represent technically at that time, they represented, and since the inception of America, which is not so long ago from now, like as Abu Sadiq did say, in history does declare that America is not an old country. It's not an ancient country. Like it's not.
It's only like 200-300 years old.
Sure. Yeah. So then the idea behind that is it's a new country. The continent itself existed. And there are people who lived on that continent, but the country of America is not an ancient one, for those who don't know. So the idea is that since it's not that ancient, when it was being created, it beaconed itself as a form of give me all your poor. So it was a land that was refugee land to a degree.
Exactly, and it's similar to how Rome was built as well, like Abu Sadiq explained.
Yes, the story of the building of Rome is so interesting.
Exactly, yeah. All of the unwanted people of societies to come and join us and then help us build our state in that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So Americans, what they did, they gathered their population from the refugees from around the world, and they've accepted all the poor, all the broken, everybody. They accepted everybody into that new country, new land. That's full of freedom of free speech and ability to say what you want to say and do what you want to do, and so on and so forth, and within reason. And then they projected themselves as the police of the world, as like that superhero that comes in the midst of the damaged world, or like against an oppressor, and they stand against the tyrannical forces around the world. And so it built that name for itself. And whether we like it or not, the culture, they sold their culture very well.
Exactly.
In around the world.
Yeah, and also something else that they built their country on was on the Christian beliefs as well. It was built to be a nation that was very, very Christian and had very good morals and ethics for itself.
Absolutely. And the values that they've embodied is still standing even until today. You can see that they have value. The American people themselves do carry a huge amount of values in them, and so the idea is that they stand up for very good values, as a person, as people, not as the government itself. You can imagine. But let's say, for example, like when you're projecting yourself in that sense, you're obviously perceived by everybody around you in the world as that superhero who's going to save us, or as they watch through, as we all watch. So now I was in Iraq, for example, and I'm sure in Africa there's lots of people who are watching Hollywood movies and the cartoons that are being produced in America, and lots of their culture, from music to arts to all kinds of things, have been produced and sold to the world. That's why our young generations, for example, right? Like as children, the new generations that are coming, all of them speak English.
Exactly.
And so the idea is that they did it. They sold their dream, the American dream. They sold it to everybody. Wherever you go, you can see the influence of American culture there. So then what happens is that since that was the image, and they were like the Captain America of the world, that we're the shield against the oppressor. We see that at some point
that shield
now
had a crack in it.
there's definitely some change right now. Like the world does not see America in the same way again.
Exactly.
They're not seeing it in that. Something changed in the image of America.
100%.
And something happened which caused that change.
Exactly.
So what we're seeing today from America, and what the new generations are seeing, they're seeing actually somebody who's not good. They're not liking what they're seeing.
Exactly.
They're denying their culture now. They're denying their what they're selling.
Their leaders.
Exactly, and leadership, and being that superhero. They're actually almost like, what happens to like almost like something that changed from good into evil in the sights of the people, in the general masses. Why is that? And when did that happen?
Exactly. And Abu Sadiq mentions a very, very important incident that actually happened with one of the presidents, Bill Clinton, when he was caught fornicating with a woman while he was in office, right? And he told the American people that this is not something that he did. But later on, evidence came out and actually proved that he actually did commit this, atrocity or whatever you want to call it. And from that moment, people actually woke up, and that was the incident that caused people to say, oh, so our leadership can lie to us. So we can't trust these people all the way completely. And it's not exactly as Christian as we thought.
Yeah, and it's also like it's a feeling of betrayal, right? Because if your president comes out and he gets caught in a blatant lie like that, like it's a bit of a disaster here, like instead of him coming out to the public and, for example, just owning up to it, which I think if he did, I mean, you would wonder what kind of history that would lead to, right?
Yeah,
because the people would have not lost that much trust. They would have maybe they would have said something for a while, and they might have like taken him down and then replaced him, but then that trust would not have been broken in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
He would have been, he's just a human. What can you do?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're humans. We make mistakes. But the fact that he did lie, and that was based on a government thing, and the official statements were all made, and everybody's believing it now, and suddenly it's exposed again. now there's a breaking of a mass of a lot of the generation that saw that happening.
Exactly.
They're like, if they can lie about this, then for sure they can lie about other stuff as well.
Exactly.
So that's when you have things like, and this happened all because of Clinton's kind of like initiation of this breaking of the trust between the government and of America and its people. And that's why you have today, for example, quite a lot of people around the world in America who actually are making these videos, and they're exposing government lies or exposing like these secret missions that they're doing or secret projects that they're doing and so on and so forth. And they're trying, because there's no trust anymore. Now anything is possible. The government could be doing anything behind the closed doors.
Exactly. And that's another very interesting point, because there are a lot of classified files and documents that the U.S. government has been hiding from their people.
Yeah.
And now, in today's day and age, when it's too late for anybody to do anything about it, they start to actually reveal what was in these classified documents.
Yeah. And if it happened back then for sure it's happening today. And there's, for example, one of these situations that we can talk about is the 9/11 attack in America, terrorist attack in there. So what happened is that on September the 11th, 2001, hijacked airplanes, as we all know. And for those who don't know, this is something you can look into it. It's like, I'm sure everybody knows about this, except for maybe like younger generations. So what happened is that on September the 11th, 2001, hijacked airplanes attacked 2 key locations in America. And they led to the killing or the death of 3,000 people at that day, in one day. And so the attacks led to a lot of chain reaction. And everybody at that time when it happened, I remember actually seeing that attack myself on TV, because I was in Iraq. And we were watching TV, and the news came on, and we saw that firsthand on live TV, and everybody was like kind of anticipating. We were in Iraq. We were like, for sure something is. What are they going to do? How are they going to react?
Exactly.
This is a direct assault, right?
It's like somebody poked the bear.
Yeah, that's like the dragon is now opened its eyes. It's not going to be silent anymore. So we all thought, okay, something is going to happen. Even in Iraq, my family, I remember them telling us this kind of stuff. They're like, oh, we have to prepare something. Something's going to happen soon, And it took a while, but there was a huge propaganda movement by the government to, fearmonger the people and make them kind of like riled up. And yes, we have to now attack. Now, yes, we have to do something in return. We have to retaliate, and so on and so forth, which started the kind of the propaganda of saying, for example, against Saddam Hussein, for example, at that time. Saddam Hussein is a tyrant. We're not saying that he's a good guy.
Person, yeah.
We're saying he's a tyrant. He's not a good person. He's we know his reincarnation. Abu Sadiq revealed it. So the idea is very simple: is that it doesn't matter. This is the scenario that's happening on the ground in 2001, 2002, and 2003, where it led to the war of Iraq, between America and Iraq. So at that time, they started to say that, since he's done these chemical attacks against the Kurds. Because that's what happened. Saddam Hussein had chemical warfare, war against the Kurds. Kurds always, they had their own flag. They wanted to separate from Iraq. They did not want to be a part of Iraq. And Saddam Hussein was not accepting that at all. And therefore, they started this process of kind of, he took one of his, Ali Nawawi, they call him, and he actually, this leader of an army of Saddam Hussein used chemical warfare against the Kurds and took the lives of hundreds of thousands of Kurds. And that led to like a massacre, basically. It was a massacre that stopped this situation from like them splitting from Iraq. They had their own army, their own police, their own everything, in Kurdistan. And so because of that happened, they kept using that as an excuse to say, for example, hey, now since he's done it before, he can do it again, and Israel is here, and he's threatening Israel, and they made it all, somehow they lumped it to 9/11. Somehow they said, since he's doing this, we cannot wait for him to use nuclear weapons on us.
Exactly. They went in saying that he had weapons of mass destruction.
Yes,
that was
exactly.
the guys that they went in saying.
Exactly. And I remember George Bush actually coming on the live TV and saying, like, we cannot wait for the, for the answer to come back against us in the form of a mushroom cloud. Like, this is a famous video. You can probably check it out on YouTube. I'm sure it's cut over there somewhere, And it's something very, when we heard that, we're like, for sure he's going to come. But the weirdest part about it was, can you imagine being born in Iraq and raised in Iraq, and you're thinking, okay, but there wasn't a single Iraqi in the 9/11 attack.
Exactly.
So how did they, they were Saudis, but they're not doing anything about Saudi Arabia. There's Egyptians, and they did not do anything about that. So they left the guys who are actually who came from these islands, or these countries, or these countries that kind of sprouted these guys, these terrorists, and they went to Iraq, which is not a single one of the attackers were Iraqis. So everybody was thinking, what's going on here? Why are they doing that,
Little odd.
It's very odd. It's like, imagine you get attacked by Japan, and then you attack you
Vietnam
attack
or something.
Sweden.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with it. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. So anyway, that's the situation that started to get people kind of questioning the validity of the claims. And it started to get people, when they saw the attack itself, there's lots of documentaries, lots of people start to talk, and at that time, the exposure time started to happen. And Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, was a part of also exposing certain things that they lied about at that time.
Exactly. And also the fact that when they went into Iraq, after they went in and did what they did not find any weapons of mass destruction.
Yes.
So it started to become evident to the people that, hey, these people claim that there were, weapons of mass destruction here, but there were none to be found.
Yeah.
So there had to be an ulterior motive that they actually went in there for.
Exactly.
And that's what really started to really, really break the shield of America, because people are seeing it with their own eyes. There's no way to deny it.
Sure. Now it's blatant lies.
Exactly.
That is even physically impossible to disprove. It's like you cannot even doubt it anymore. It's just so clear that even people who are working for the government come out and they say yes, this is what's happening. We know it's just not possible. This is what they're saying, and there's some demolitions kind of happening. There's explosions being heard at the bottom floors.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of conspiracy theories started to pop. And it became like this massive movement online and in the media, calling it a false flag attack, so that they can take the America into the next stage of their plans, which nobody knows what kind of plans did they have, these shadow governments. All these talks against the shadow governments existing started to pop. That there's this what you're seeing with your own eyes is not actually what's controlling the American kind of movement around the world. It's actually certain families like the Rothschilds and the different kind of families that are trillionaires started to pop into the scene, and people start to pay attention more into kind of different. That's what the conspiracy theories online were, and people are talking about that until today on live TVs and on social media platforms. So then at that time, that's when it started to kind of grow in popularity, these conspiracy theories, and until today we can see the people are noticing what's going on. So America suddenly overnight turned within a very short period of time, few years really, turned from this superhero Captain America that's gonna come to save you from the tyrant into the big bad wolf. Or you could imagine that boy that shouted, wolf.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because so it's changed from that trustworthy kind of shepherd of the world into this scenario where they're into the scenario where basically they became that person who's lying in the public domain.
Exactly. And it's very, very interesting when you look at what happened with 9/11 and them actually going into these Muslim countries, because there is something called Operation Northwoods, which is something that America actually planned to do with Cuba prior to 9/11 happening. So basically, Operation Northwood was a proposed false flag operation that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense in the government in 1962.
Yeah.
And the proposal called for CIA operatives to both stage and commit acts of terrorism against the American military and civilian targets. They would then blame them on Cuban government and use them to justify a war against Cuba. So it's very, very obvious that if they were planning on doing this once, they can clearly do it again.
Sure. And we know that they've supported, by their own admission, certain militias around the world that were extremists, like ISIS, for example. We have videos of them on live TV saying that, yes, we are the ones who supported them. We're the ones who, so that we can fight against the Soviets at that time. And then we left them with all these weaponry and all this training. And suddenly it's like you have now Islamic extremism popping into the scene. So you know that they use these tactics of, like, say, for example, supporting a extremist group against another, so that they can take down another bigger kind of enemy. So we know that they could use tactics like that, and they could use these undercover kind of secret, as you saw in the document. It's an undercover secret, kind of top secret. They say top secret, information.
And the crazy part is that they were willing to actually attack their own bases, exactly, their own soil, their own civilians, their own people, in order to
false flag,
exactly, in order to carry out a greater mission that they had.
Because they know, like, how do you move people? You move people if you attack yourself.
Exactly.
Like you have to self-harm to, in order for you to rally the people around behind behind something. Why would, if you have trust, if your government is being trusted by the people, then for sure, doing something like this is not gonna cross even the slightest. Everybody's a patriot, right? So they will not trust that. They will not They will not accept a conspiracy theory when it comes to that. Because if they do, wow, I mean, now you split the country. Now you have people who are in the country, which is that are they're not trusting at all of the government. So they can start something. It's very bad. Right? It's very bad. It can change to something that is very nasty. Historically speaking, every country every empire collapsed because of situations like this. We know the Roman Empire collapsed under its own weight because it's expanded so much that it became very thin, and it started to have civil wars like this and stuff like that. Like, so this is almost the chain where we see America is heading towards the same repetitive history.
Exactly.
So the idea then here is that since they've done it on their own soil now, and they've done it before, or they wanted to do it
before, exactly.
Now it's evidence for those who saw these documents and secret documents after they've been released, to now say it's possible that they've done it again, and that 9/11 is an inside job, and that there's a lot of people today in America that actually testify to this. They believe it. They believe this is to be the truth. Yes. So the idea is then, now what's going on here? Because Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam goes into, after that, it goes into the background of where he's from. Who is Abu Sadiq and who's talking here? Who's revealing this information for us, right? Let's just talk a little bit about that, so that the general people, when they're talking, when they hear Abu Sadiq, after they've maybe gotten curious about the live and they want to see the video fully from Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam with the details on how he does it, then you can actually check out who's saying it. Who's saying it is Abdullah Hashim, who is an American citizen, and his ancestry dates back all the way to the 1600s, which are like the beginnings of America, literally. So he has ancestors who have fought in the major wars of America, all of them you can imagine. The War of Independence, American-Spanish wars, the Mexican-American wars, and World War I and II. His ancestry is literally, they're part of that country's heritage, and they're historical in that sense. His lineage is that kind of lineage. He's not just, let's say, for example, a citizen who just came today and he became an American because they spent 5 years, right?
Yeah, so in reality, he's actually more American than the majority of people in America today.
Exactly. He's more American than Tiffany, for God's sake. And it's like, it was a shocker when we actually saw that Tiffany's sister Tiffany, she said that she was like, her ancestor came like from started in the 1800s in America. But at the same time, it is very interesting because, like, then we now know that Abu Sadiq, half of him, which is from his mother's side, we know that he has a huge historical relevance, and his voice is quite, it's an American voice. It's like a deeply American voice, not just a normal American voice. You can imagine, So he can for sure speak about this topic from that side at least, So then because of this, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, this is the punishment that he makes upon the liar, is that once you lie and you lie again and you show kinds of stuff like this, then the whole world, how can they trust you anymore?
Even if you're telling the truth.
Even if you say, exactly, even if you come tomorrow and say, hey, by the way, no, we're America, we're going to tell you the truth right now. Look, it's not possible now. You broke this trust now. And so the world is looking at, and that's why we see the world today collapsing and actually splitting into clear-cut two sides. And we know when that happens, it's almost inevitable that when that divide happens, that a World War III or a flood is coming. We know that for sure. It's an inevitability almost. Because it's just the chain reaction of what's going on.
Exactly. So yeah, that's basically what has gotten America into the situation that it's actually in today. They cried wolf a lot of times, making these false claims and actually committing a lot of atrocities in the name of them just wanting to get some type of political gain or some type of resource gain or something like that. So now when the world gets to a point where nobody can trust anything that they say, it's going to be something that's very, very bad. That's why, you see them going back to a Christian route. And you see a lot of the political faces actually trying to be more Christian. And, they wear crosses now when a few hundred years ago that was something that was not, good in American politics.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting, where America is headed to now, because now they know they can't lie to people anymore.
Yeah.
So now they have to go back to a political standpoint and make this a political fight.
Yeah, and make it religious.
I mean, a religious fight, not political, religious fight. Yeah.
Because how do you combat lies? It's almost like you have an atheist on your side, that they can do anything. Yeah. Technically speaking, in the minds of believers, an atheist is capable of anything, but a believer is not, right? Because a believer is truthful, cannot be not truthful.
Yeah.
So now they're using this tactic of hey, since we've been lied to. We've been lied to all this time. We're the Americans. We're the Christians, right?
Exactly.
So let's go back to now. Let's make it a Christian country again. Let's give it that Christian vibe again. Let's place on the leadership those who are like the U.S. Secretary of Defense, for example, Pete. He says what? He says that his tattoo says kafir, straight, clear. Disbeliever. We are not believers. We're not Muslims. As clear, we have it written on our bodies that we're not Muslims. We are clearly Christian. You can say, as you see, if you're watching the stream, it's like clearly stating that we are what? What is that sign from? The sign on his chest is saying that he's a crusader.
Crosses. Yeah.
And the crusader, now it's a religious war.
Exactly.
It's been a religious war. And Abu Sadiq actually in the video of the Israel-Palestine solution, he said it's a religious war. It was a religious war from that time, but now it's becoming, now the masks are dropping.
Exactly.
You can imagine, right? Now since the American government kind of lost its face in front of the world, in order to rebuild the face and gain popularity again, gain strength again, do that final push, what do? They turn to Christianity now. And they start to have a president that sells the Bible, with the Constitution in it, So now it's like the Constitution is in the Bible. So you see, now America is Christian. There is no doubt about that. Exactly. Nobody can say no to that. So when you do something like this, then what happens is you start to rally up all the billions of Christians around the world, and you have lots of billions of Muslims around the world, and you have this raging again, this ancient battle, this ancient, like 1,400-year-old battle comes to the front line again between the Muslims and the Christians, and the Jews are in there. like actually like doing their own business
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
you know, trying to build their third temple and so on and so forth. So in order for them to do all that kind of stuff, they need control over the land. They need to, and so they will do it. It's like it's not something that like their rabbis say it on public domain, in the public domain. You can check out what they're saying. We need to do more so that we can actually bring the Messiah, the Messiah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so they are working for their religious agenda. The Muslims are working towards their religious agenda. The Christians are working towards their religious agenda, and it's a religious war, and none of them can actually even prove that their religion is true.
Exactly. And it's very, very interesting thing, because even when you look at some of the things that people in America have said, is they claim to be a Christian country with, you know, Christian values. But yet when you ask them if Jesus was to come, would, you know, Jesus be able to come and rule America?
Of course not.
Of course not. Because in their constitution, if he's not born in that country, he can't rule.
Exactly.
So it's...
And he's not. Obviously, he went up with his body, right?
Exactly.
So if he went up with his body, he's going to come back with his body. He's not an American citizen. But maybe, unless they change the constitution,
Exactly.
you know, unless they give him a golden card, he buys it for $5 million, you know, and become a citizen of the United States, and then they change the constitution, you know.
Exactly.
So it's because how is that possible? What are we trying to say here? We're saying that what we're seeing in our own eyes is exactly the predictions and the prophecies that Abu Sadiq has told us it's going to happen. He told us, like he literally told us beforehand, that if Trump comes back, it's going to turn into a Christian country. America is going to turn into a Christian country, and it's going to be extremist Christians, and so on and so forth. And that's what we see the trajectory of going into. Or I mean, you cannot be more extreme when you have that, one of your top, lead kind of, army soldiers in command is writing a disbeliever on his own, tattooing his own, disbelief on his own body in front of everybody,
and he has Crusader cross on his chest, and we all know what happened during that time.
And and there's a huge, massive movement. Like it's not like the Muslim Ummah is actually a good, decent kind of, well-guided Ummahs. We know that they are split between each other, but there is no difference between Christianity and Islam in that sense. Is the Christianity and Islam are both split into 1,000,001 sects, and not one of them can actually prove that they're authentic or they're actually true to the core. It's all just based on opinion. They don't have a man who's appointed by God. And the only thing they see is and that's what's happening again in America, is that the people turned from extremist kind of democratic people into like faith-based kind of, belief system, where they're voting for Trump, not because they like him, but because he's more Christian than the others. You know what I'm saying? So it became like you're voting for what? For somebody who's pretending to be more Christian. I mean, the guy is. They say that he's actually sent by Jesus, and that he's this God sent savior. Even though it's like, if you believe in that, what's your evidence for that? When did Jesus mention him by name in his will? Jesus mentioned Muhammad by will, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. This is a religious claim that you guys are making, that you're giving it to a person who's clearly not appointed by God. Clearly he's got so much money that he's a cause for, as a personal cause. He's a personal cause for quite a lot of suffering around the world, from people dying from hunger and all that kind of stuff. And we know that when you take more than what you need, and somebody's suffering around the world, then you're part of that suffering.
Exactly. So the idea is very simple. America is getting to the point where people are not falling for their deception and their lies anymore. The mask that they've had on as this superpower, as this big brother to save the world, is being ripped right off of their face, and people are realizing that this country has been deceiving and lying to them for the past centuries and the past hundreds of years. And what that's going to lead to inevitably is the destruction of this nation. And that's what Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam actually mentioned as well, is that Trump will be the cause of the fall of this nation, and the lies that they've told in the past are not helping either.
Exactly. And that's why right now you have the boy who cried wolf. The boy who cried wolf. They've lied multiple times, and now they place for somebody who claims to be a Christian, even though, far be it from it, I mean, Jesus Christ if Jesus Christ was outside of his towers, he would probably kick him out as a foreigner. You know, he would ask him for his paperwork.
Yeah.
You know, it has nothing to do at all with Christianity, not from near, not from far. If that's Christianity, then what it's the opposite of Jesus.
Exactly.
It's literally Jesus is sleeping on his on a rock, you know, and these guys are living in castles by themselves, golden. Who in history lived like that? It's pharaohs. Pharaohs lived like that. They have gold everywhere and, you know, silver everywhere and all these kind of stuff. And yet they're saying that this is Christianity. It is. It's absolutely like disturbing, actually, and it's very strange that people fall for this kind of stuff all the time.
Exactly.
Pharaoh comes and says, "I am your God. Look at how much gold I have," and they worship him because they think, "Yeah, God supported him." You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the reality is, you know, with all these false flags, you know, and all the exposing that has happened to this country, even if something major was to happen to them in the future and they tell the truth, nobody's going to believe them.
Exactly. And I think that's why Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam comes into the picture. He is titled, his title or his nickname is the father of the truthful. Because his interest since his childhood, since his teenage years, is clearly displayed on the public domain, while the opposite, you can imagine, for example, Trump's history is clearly placed on the the
Filter
domain.
deception, yeah.
And you just look at Abu Sadiq's history. The man since his teenage years, he was exposing falsehood. He was searching for the truth. He was sincere. Everybody can see that. If you just look at the Tads and Arrivals, you'll see that, okay, this man is interested in truth. You know, and he's been a huge character player in the history of in YouTube when it started when it first was initiated and so on, and the enlightenment movement of humanity and the exposing of falsehood and making people actually aware of the existence of Satan and his movement and what's going on and what is he doing in the world. So Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam comes to the scene and he's exposing Satan. He's exposing his plans. He's exposing his secret clubs. And then what happens? That Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam comes and he's sharing more truths with us. And he's exposing now what's happening in the world and how corrupt the world is. He's exposed the religious manipulation of people. They motivate Christians so that they can rise up and rally them. They motivate and rally up the Muslims. They motivate and rally up the Jews and everybody around the world and the Hindus so that they can fight against each other under banners that are not appointed by God. There is no vote. Like you can go and vote and it's not a problem. Because in the end it doesn't harm God. It harms you. It harms the people. So your akhirah is going to be hellfire. Your afterlife, because you will be questioned about these things. People really think that there is no consequences to their choices. And they think that just because they choose the majority or something like this, it's or they choose a little bit here and there of what they think is right without investigation at all, they think that God is going to excuse their ignorance. Your governments don't excuse your ignorance when you break the law. You think God is going to excuse our ignorance when it comes to affecting the life and death and suffering of people around the world? Poor people who have no say, who don't know anything. Your choices ripple effect. Our choices ripple effect. We have to know where we place our vote for. So we say, if we are to vote at all in this world for anything, I put my vote with God. I give my vote to God. Let him choose the king for me. Exactly. You know, why would I choose my vote? I'm ignorant. I don't know. We don't know people. We don't know what's inside of them.
Exactly. So yeah, the idea should be pretty simple for anybody that joined us today. The liar will always be exposed, and anybody who carries on lying will never have any room to grow, because just like you said, the lie doesn't have legs. It'll eventually be exposed. So what we have to do is follow somebody who is for the truth, and that is Abba Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, the only individual who has came with the truth regardless of religion, and doesn't care about any slandering or any backlash that he gets, because what he stands for is the truth, and that is what we stand for as well. But we thank you guys for joining us today on another episode, Brother Hussam.
Thank you so much, brother.
Perfect. And we hope to see you guys on the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.